for the Luttrells. They cringe, recapping the anniversary of their paranormal encounter at the Magnolia.
I hate talking about this.
The very same cell where he hung himself.
Not giving trick-or-treat candy, you're going to be sitting in studio hosting with us, relaxing for 3 hours. We're taking this all the way back to 1930s, where you sit around your radio, you turn off your TV, and you listen to Haunted
Throw
Heartland.
things around. And last Sunday, 2 glasses of beer fell off the counter. And I said, "That's my husband." And the kid said, "That's Dad coming home."
09 Juliet. Palomar Tower, Fairchild, 818, Shoreline, and Bataquitos.
In 2012, a handful of rogue investigators chose to uncover stories that have gone untold for decades.
That's when the owner believed the spirits started coming around. But that's not the only spirit who calls the apartments home.
All of a sudden, this strange, white, shadowy figure, like just floated across my camera. I became so scared that as soon as the picture was taken, I moved my camera away.
What you hear is real.
Is real. Is real. Is real. Is real. Is real.
Hello.
It's called a hypnagogic hallucination.
Dave, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Just not if you could hear me.
You're listening to the Haunted Heartland program on Maverick Radio.
And we are here for the 9th annual Mav Radio's Haunted Heartland Spooky Spectacular Hour here. Just a wonderful night. Welcome everybody to this special Mav Radio tradition of Haunted Heartland. I'm Joey Colbert. Right next to me is Anna Bellinghausen. Anna.
Hi Joey, how are you?
Good. We're finally here. It's amazing we're back at Haunted Heartland. I was here last year producing with Corey and Chance, and now I'm hosting it with you. It's such an honor to carry on this tradition.
It really is. I'm excited. I'm also here for the first time, as you are hosting for the first time. You were producing, and now you're on the mic, so it's exciting just to be here and be able to hear all these stories. 14 students reporting on important events here in Omaha that have to do with the spookiness of Halloween. So I think we're all ready to get this thing kicked off. Joey, what are you most excited about?
The different stories we're going to be listening throughout the day. We got a fantastic lineup. We got stories related to campus here. We got some stories focusing on our fears, some spooky places you can visit during the Halloween season. We talk about horror films throughout the time, and then we'll give our little spooky stories throughout the 2-hour content. And I want to give a quick shout out early on. Austin Ulmer is going to be producing throughout the night. He will be handling the phone calls from the student reporters who are investigating all of these stories taking place either in Omaha, Nebraska, or just outside right here at Mav Radio. Anna, looking forward to these stories in general. We got a fantastic lineup.
Yeah, we surely do, and I'm excited just to hear about all the spooky places you can visit in Omaha and things that we might not know about that maybe are underneath us, Joey.
I'm prepared to be spooked. I'm not a fan of being scared at all, but this is the night for that to happen.
Exactly. It's a Haunted Heartland. You gotta be ready for the scares. You gotta be ready for the ghostly stories. And I think that tonight is a perfect night. It's gloomy outside here in Omaha, Nebraska. So looking out the window, you can see the clouds creeping around. So I think we've got the perfect environment here.
Yeah, perfect environment in the studio. We got some of the lamps on right now. We got the Mav Radio sign facing us, and the light will be turned off soon just as we listen to these spooky stories. We got some phobia stories to talk about. We got some interesting places, like I mentioned, and then, yeah, scary films, scary movies. That'll be a treat just to listen into that. First story we will go over will be focusing on an underground tunnel system at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You are listening to Haunted Heartland right here on MavRadio.fm.
What's up, witches? You're listening to Haunted Heartland, only on mavradio.fm.
Anna, I got a quick question. Did you know there was an underground tunnel system here at UNO?
I did not, and I'm a little creeped out as we sit here. Our feet could literally be on top of some ghosts, and I'm kind of freaked out, Joey, now that you said that.
It's an area at the University of Nebraska, Omaha that's unknown to most, and one that holds a questionable mystery. Nathan Sweats takes us on a fictional story of a mythological creature that roams the tunnels of UNO.
What a way to start college, man. Just walking around here on a tour. I mean, aren't we here to have a good time?
Yeah, bro. It's Halloween time. We should at least be trick-or-treating around here.
Whoa, man. Look at that gnarly building. A friend of mine said you could check out video cameras in the basement there.
That one, bro? College, what does that say? Public affairs, community service? Let's go, bro. We're better off without the tour, bro.
The TV studio? Alright.
Whoa, bro. What in the world is this place?
No clue, man. Doesn't look like a camera stop to me.
Yo, look at that picture on the wall, bro.
Whoa, man. What in the world is that?
It looks like a big lizard dude, bro. Looks really real, though. With the construction workers and the room, bro.
And this huge metal door, man. It's the same one that's right next to you. I mean, what in the world is this place?
Whoa, bro. Looks like a basement. Under a basement,
bro. Goodness, man. Hey there.
Who are you, bro?
My name is Mark Dale, and I've been with the university since the last century. So I started working here in the late 90s. And so I've been here for almost 25 years.
Oh, okay. Super cool, bro. Super radical.
Yeah, good to meet you, Mark, man. What's going on with this lizard thing in the photo, man?
Typically, I think it's one of those things that nobody wants to talk about to make it more come to life, so to speak.
This dude's kind of weird, bro.
But the photo is right here. Don't you see the lizard man in the photo with the construction workers? Can you tell us what it is?
You know, some of the rumors were it came from the sewers because we are underground, and sometimes the sewers are above us from where we're at, and it's hard to say where it could have possibly been.
No way. Well, what's on the other side of the door then, man?
We have a storage area down here for stuff that was from our older technology, so we don't even use it anymore. There's very few people that know about these tunnels, and there's even fewer people that come down here and use them.
Tunnels, bro? That's sick, bro.
Alright, well, we're gonna go snag some gear and, we'll be on our way then. Man, no way that could be true, right? The dude's crazy.
I don't know, bro. His eyes really took me there for a ride.
Well, we got some gear on the first day, man. Let's go mess with some students over at the aviation section on the other side of the building, man.
Alright, Chaz. Let's do it, bro.
Yeah, my name is Johnny, and I'm an aviation student here at UNO. I'm a third year so far.
Alright, Johnny. What's going on in the basement, huh? The guy's talking about tunnels and a lizard guy, man.
I've never heard of any tunnels before underneath the university. I don't specifically know what they would be used for, if there were any tunnels out there.
This guy's not doing it, bro. There's something going on down there for sure, bro.
Johnny, you got one more chance to tell us the truth, man.
No, I've never heard of such a thing. I mean, I thought that only things like this were, fairy tale stories.
Yo, he just said no, bro. That means he's not telling the truth, bro.
Alright, man. We believe you. That's all we need.
Yo, there's a monster down there, bro. I'm telling you.
You really think so, man?
I do, bro. I do.
Alright. Let's go check it out. Okay, man. Door's open. You're gonna sneak in there. Let's just go quick.
Alright, bro. I mean, nobody will even know, bro.
Man, I am just curious what happened right there. That doesn't sound good. Well, the TV studio area offers video gear, audio gear, and more for select students in the CPAX building on campus. I know I've been down there several times, but it does not guarantee a confrontation by a lizard creature and a horrifying experience. Tours of the tunnel are currently on a case-by-case basis. That's where reporter Nate Sweats is right now. Nate, how are you doing today?
We're doing good. How are you doing, Joey?
I'm good. Well, first of all, what location are you at, and can you describe what's around you right now?
Right now, I'm in the basement of the CPAX building, down by the tunnels where the history lays. Around me, there were dark walls with lights here and there, but it was dark upon arrival down here in the tunnels.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of being in the dark areas down there.
So the actual legitimate importance of this is the pipeline between buildings. They built the tunnels so they could do piping and construction from building to building. It wasn't an actual good commute for students or anything like that. So it's under construction. It's still eerie, but that's the main focus for it.
Where did the idea come about regarding the storyline and characters?
Well, I come down here as a student anyways. I come down here all the time, so I've gotten a tour of the place. It freaks me out. I realize this is all happening right below not just my feet, but thousands of students' feet walking around the university every single day. And it's all going down here. Nobody knows what's going down. So writing a story about it, stir people out, whatever it is, get some laughter going on to stir it up and stir the conversation up about all the good places down here.
You mentioned the lizard man down there, and I'm just curious, is there any spooky stories that came about these tunnels, Nathan?
There are going to be a couple that aren't going to be talked about, but nothing as crazy as a fictional lizard man, I'll tell you that. First up, there's been students that just got freaked out going down there, so they didn't want to be down there, they'd run right back up. It's all fictional at the end of the day, so if you get the opportunity to take a tour down here, come check it out, come see the history.
And finally, what is your takeaway from this fictional piece you did?
The main takeaway is to have fun. If you like radio, go have fun and play around with sound effects, have a good time, be creative, make a story, and just have a good time with it.
Yeah, and it just made it feel like the lizard man was in that sequence right there. But Nate, thank you for sharing this interesting story. I did not know about Anna, and I did not know going into this Haunted Heartland special. Well, be safe and be careful down there as you leave, Nate. Thank you again.
Yeah, you too, Joey. Enjoy Haunted Heartland.
Anna, we talked about it before Haunted Heartland. Did you know any random facts about the tunnel system?
I didn't really know that was a thing down there, but thinking back to every time that I've been in CPAX, it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies when we're down there at night, especially when you're there alone. And the sound in the audio makes complete sense with the creaking of the doors. Like everything down there exactly sounds like that. So it's not far-fetched from my imagination that there could be some monsters lurking around in those tunnels.
Indeed, there could be monsters around there. We've been down there several times, whether it's in the TV studio, getting a camera equipment, just going down there. You see that metal door to our right, just going into the TV studio. We always wonder where that goes to. I was informed that these would connect to different buildings, and the camera people would just run cameras from building to building. They would use that underground tunnel system for that, Anna.
Joey, did you get a chance to talk to any of the TV guys down there about this kind of spooky behavior?
I talked with one of them the other day about Haunted Heartland, told me that they would just run cameras from building to building, as I mentioned before. So I just thought it was interesting that they had a use for them in the past, and now it's just really not operative.
Yeah, well, that one surely freaked me out. And there's more in store here on Haunted Heartland, the 9th annual edition here at mavradio.fm. We got Crystal Kwaw's story coming up about the fear of clowns. I don't know about you guys, but clowns freak me out. All right, we'll be right back here on mavradio.fm.
You are listening to Haunted Heartland 2021. Only on mavradio.fm.
The silly music is gonna get me.
You're almost here. Come.
Don't worry, you're safe now. Here's more Haunted Heartland.
Some folks fear the color yellow, others fear cheese, falling asleep, and even trees. Another rare phobia is the fear of clowns. But as reporter Crystal Kwaw reports, there's actually a psychiatric rationale for this fear, and it may not be what you think.
What is that? What's that over there? I'm not gonna get any closer. Oh my gosh, what is it gonna do? Okay, just calm down. We need a plan. We should run. No. What if it snatches me? What if it bites me? I don't have good health insurance. Oh. Okay, let's just be still. Maybe it won't notice I'm even here. Maybe it'll just leave. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's getting closer. If I run, I might draw more attention to myself. I don't want to get hurt. What if I'm surrounded? What if I get chewed up and abandoned and no one knows what happened? I don't know what to do. That's fear. Adding more fear to the fire by reacting, well, fearfully. Psychologist Dr. Abby Bjornsson Ramig, an associate professor at UNO in the College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences, says,
an ambiguity about, whether we have something to fear from an object, a person, or a place that can kind of make us uncomfortable because there's an uncertainty that kind of leaves us at a loss for knowing how to respond.
While we get spooked by zombies, witches, and demons, let's investigate one local's fear of clowns, also known as coulrophobia. Angel Davis is afraid of clowns, whether it's in person or on screen.
I don't want to be around. I don't want to see a picture of a clown. None of that. Movie with a clown in it? No. They're supposed to be happy people.
Bjornsson Ramig says fear sometimes can be a healthy thing to protect ourselves, saying it's a normal part of brain function, even though we don't like the feeling of being scared. Fear is not a bad thing. While some fears rouse us for protection against danger, Bjornsson Ramig says others are a conditioned response. Stephen King's book, It, and screen adaptations has amplified movie watchers' fear of clowns.
We have this obsession or this love-hate relationship with these murderous clowns, especially around this time of year, around Halloween. I think part of our fear is learned, from watching horror movies, as a kid when we're not supposed to watch them.
Davis says her fear began decades ago when she watched the 1990 miniseries It as a little girl.
I just didn't like his face, his everything. The white paint, the reddish eyes, the red nose. He was just scary.
It's said that real-life serial killer John Wayne Gacy played a key role in the killer clown trope in pop culture. The father of two worked as a clown at charities and children's parties, but when he wasn't working, he reportedly killed 33 people in Chicago in 1978. He was sentenced to the death penalty a few years later. The image of Gacy, the happy clown, is described as a devil in disguise in recent Peacock's 6-part documentary series.
Society has sort of developed this connection between clowns and dangerous or psychotic behavior.
Angel says clowns are supposed to be happy, and it's not right they kill people. She says if she saw a clown in front of her,
Probably scream, take off. I'll be like, let me out this car. I'll be like, pull me to the door so I can get in and get out. I mean, so I can hurry up and get out and get in that building. Yeah, it would probably freak me out. I'd probably start crying like, oh my God, it's a clown, it's a clown. Like, what are we gonna do?
Creepy makeup, creepy dolls, creepy children, and creepy remote cabins are recycled in horror films, but they don't always overwhelm the fear response to the point of developing a phobia around the person or the object. Bjornson Ramig says clowns are just another tool writers and movie makers use to poke audiences. Angel says her coulrophobia has stopped her from going places with a high likelihood of clowns being there.
I don't even want to go to the circus. Like, if my kids wanted to go, somebody else took them. I didn't take them because they had clowns.
Bjornson Ramig says coulrophobia is not common since 2% of adults have a legitimate clown phobia. To the rest of us, clowns can be disturbing. Pennywise and Ronald McDonald have different agendas. One makes kids smile, and the other makes kids disappear. We can't be sure what kind of character is behind the mask.
The anonymity provided by wearing a different face or makeup or a mask like a clown would, we know that leads to people being more disinhibited, right? And doing things they might not do normally in face-to-face situations.
Appearances can be deceiving, so there's the element of unpredictability. When people don a mask, inhibition goes away, which may reveal a hero or a nightmare.
They might seem happy, but we don't know if they are.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Crystal Kwaw.
Now, before this month is over, if you'd like to get more heart palpitations, don't forget to watch the movie It. Add killer clowns from outer space to the list too. If you have a phobia that gets in the way of living your daily life fully, help is available in therapy in many different locations here in Omaha, but this story by Crystal is going to be one that we're talking about here in studio, and we actually have Crystal with us. She's at Mystery Manor. Crystal, how are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm doing great. It's a haunted Heartland, nothing to complain about. So that story got me thinking about my own fears, but how about you, Crystal? What are you afraid of, and how intense are those fears for you?
So I am afraid of snakes, but before I get into my fear, I just want to acknowledge people who are afraid of clowns. I talked to a character. I'm here at Mystery Manor, and I talked to a character who plays a clown, and he wasn't in his costume. But he did say that as a clown, he has thought about killing people, but he's never done it. So,
whoa.
But he was just joking. I'm kidding. But yeah, as a clown, even he's had lots of personas. He's been the devilish clown, a Bobo character, and in the future, he's thinking of being a Beetlejuice character. So,
wow.
I think people who clowns have many dimensions for sure. So, learning they have so much range. Anyway, my fear is snakes. I don't even like talking about it because that's how much I'm afraid of them.
Well, Crystal, we're going to make you talk about it if you don't want to talk about it. It's haunted Heartland. Crystal, I mean, what would you do if a poisonous snake just crawled at your feet right now?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, since I just put people who have the fear of clowns through that, I guess I'll talk about mine. Yeah, if it was a snake that crawled right out from underneath me, I would probably not be talking to you. I'd probably be, like, running out of this location far away, and I'll stop running when I forget it ever happened.
So, Crystal, you're telling me you'd rather be in a room full of 100 clowns than one snake?
Absolutely. There's no question.
All right, well,
you have to understand. You just don't know if snakes is poisonous or it can strangle you. Or have you seen snakes on a plane? Hello?
Yes, I actually have. I have seen that. Well, are you interested in getting rid of that fear of snakes then?
You know, I am, but it has to be a process. It might take me years because I need to see like a egg. I don't know if like how snakes are born. I should probably get more knowledge. I should probably arm myself with information to combat my fear of snakes. But it's gonna have to be slow because we can't. I can't deal with surprises when it comes to that. It'll just take me right back to square one.
You're not gonna do any of that flooding where they just throw a bunch of snakes on you in the bathtub?
Okay, this conversation has gone too far.
All right, Crystal, we won't be doing that to you, we promise. We're too far away. You're at Mystery Manor. We're at the Mav Radio studios. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for telling us your fears and sharing fears about clowns.
Thank you.
Joey, clowns or snakes? It's their question.
Clowns or snakes? I mean, I would rather be around clowns. I had an encounter with a snake one time on the driveway. It was just a little gardener snake. I kind of freaked out a bit. I just picked it up and threw it to the side in the yard. Just threw it far away from me because I was driving out. It was on the driveway. I didn't want to harm it or anything. I just want to safely remove it by just tossing it over. But yeah, do you have any fears, Anna?
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I will say clowns are really creepy. And I remember when that big clown epidemic was happening in Omaha, Nebraska, there was clown sightings, and we actually had some clown sightings at our school, at our high school back in Elkhorn South. And it turned out they were all fake. We got all riled up in the cafeteria about it. We were showing each other pictures, but they're all just edited clown photos. And I may or may not have made one of those.
I'm surprised she did not mention tarantulas because those usually come up, and I know there's a migration of tarantulas going into western Kansas or something, so...
Staying out of Kansas.
Yeah, stay out of Kansas.
Spiders, I will say, another no-no on my list.
Yeah, but it's also scary for high schoolers. College. And college from the surface looks fun, and for many it is. However, a group of students on UNO's campus say additional commitments, financial concerns, and confusion about masks and vaccinations leave them exhausted and stressed out. Reporter Cody Harms says students today lack some necessary social and academic skills to cope with the nation's transition back to pre-COVID life.
Stress is a part of everyone's everyday life. Stress for others turns into anxiety. College students are at the forefront of this topic. A study conducted by Boston University found that nearly 33,000 college students from the eastern seaboard to the surfs of California are battling some forms of anxiety and/or depression. What's more, that number is expected to increase in the coming years. UNO students are not immune. Fifth-year senior Jasmine Pineda-Bustos says it's a struggle to stay afloat.
It was just really hard coming into being a first-gen student and just carrying all this anxiety with me, not knowing how to reach out for help and how to deal with it.
Not only is a senior journalism student the first in her family to attend a university, she's also a DACA recipient, which is costly and limits her access to health care, including mental health care. Jasmine says the overwhelming stress of coursework, not having a vehicle, and working extra hours at a local grocery store leaves her overwhelmed. It's part of a vicious cycle that she says causes her to simply shut down.
Where I should have reached out to my professors, and it really impacted just my entire grades. I had to drop out of classes multiple times.
That is not an uncommon reaction, says UNO Assistant Vice Chancellor and Dean of Student Success, Kathy Pettit, and it's only getting worse.
We're seeing an uptick in social anxiety. I mean, students spend a lot of time in their residence hall or in their rooms, and that's really isolating. And frankly, you start losing some of your social skills.
Anxiety disorders can torment college students in many types of ways. According to the Mayo Clinic, symptoms include nervousness, unease, a sense of impending danger or doom, sweating, inability to focus, and uncontrollable worry and insomnia. Kathy says there's an increase in students determined to avoid places and activities because socially it triggers uncomfortable feelings that negatively impact their everyday life and overall well-being.
It's a real existential crisis that students sort of have this feeling of why bother, because bad things happen no matter what.
Nearly 100% of all college counseling directors say that the number of students with significant psychological problems is a growing concern. That's according to a survey conducted by the Association for University and College Counseling Center Directors. Kathy says the good news is there are many ways students can learn to cope with their stress and anxiety. However, she says the first step is the most important.
We should be comfortable talking about it, that it should be no different than saying, I have allergies. And once we acknowledge it, then asking for help isn't quite as hard.
Openly discussing anxiety and other health components is a milestone for the student who lives with them. However, there's another factor at hand, and that's access to a professional care provider. Some have wait times of several weeks. Student Nate Sweat says that's precious time for a person in need of help.
I think that's wild because, students, considering the schedules, the busyness, you could be in a whole nother mental state in 10 days.
There are many popular apps folks download on their phones, along with unlimited internet tips to reduce anxiety. Simply pausing and taking deep breaths can help college students ground their anxiety. Using calming techniques helps junior Stephanie Veloso limit the amount of time she allows her stress to present itself. It's specific and intentional, but most importantly, she says it works.
My method is like sticky notes. I love sticky notes, and I write down my to-do list, and then I've learned to break that down even further.
There are cases that require more intense intervention, a point Kathy sure is to point out. If a UNO student has an emergency, she says they will be seen immediately. For after-hour, weekend, and even campus breaks, there is help.
A student can call the same counseling center number, 554-2409, press number 2, and you're connected with a licensed mental health therapist.
Some students don't necessarily need to see a doctor or a therapist, they just might need some mental health coaching. Kathy says that's available to students as well. Most importantly, she says there are professionals on campus committed to the overall well-being of every student, staff, and faculty.
I think sometimes there's a hesitancy to get as involved because we've lost our skills of getting along with others. We're lonely, we're bored, yet the thought of getting involved in a group is fraught with anxiety.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Cody Harms.
Kathy says managing stress and anxiety requires medication for some. A good sleep routine, good support systems, and enjoying nature can be helpful. Reporter Cody Harms joins me live from outside at Elmwood Park. How are you doing today, Cody?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing tonight?
Not too shabby, Cody. It is Haunted Heartland. I'm so excited. What's going on outside at Elmwood Park, Cody?
Looks like there's a couple people running. There's nobody at the playground. But I think, it's getting dark, so most people are heading home for dinner or, getting the kids ready for bed, I think.
Now, Kathy has quite the resume in the mental health field. What was it like speaking with her?
Honestly, it was an honor. She has a heck of a resume. She's the dean of students as far as, with the CAPS and any sort of psychological help. She had a lot of very insightful information as well. But what I really found the most interesting is she was very open about her taking Lexapro, which is an anxiety medication. I thought that was very interesting that somebody I was interviewing was very open about that.
What do you have to tell students who aren't sure about getting help?
That's the hardest thing is, at first anyways, is to recognize the issue. I think it's a lot easier said than done because, from my experience, once you get over the fact that, you may need some help, it's a lot easier, but I would definitely reach out to anybody that's fat, anybody that that, your friends, family, somebody that's going to support you. I would say reach out to them, maybe see what they have to say. Definitely talk to a counselor. Counseling is the best thing that I personally ever did for my mental health, so I would definitely say once you get over that stigma, definitely reach out to a counselor or a doctor, and, they will do anything they can to help you.
Yeah, when I'm just dealing with stress and anxiety, I would just go for a walk and I just talk it out with some of my family, my peers, or even counselors when I can. For you, Cody, what kinds of challenges did you face with this project?
The biggest issue was finding a second interview, to be honest with you. It took me a little while to finally get a hold of Kathy, and to be honest with you, with all the help of Jodine, was able to kind of help me get this interview. The other, minor challenge was over Zoom. Obviously, interviewing over Zoom is not quite as personable as it is in person, but editing as far as, Zoom is concerned was not terribly difficult. But yeah, definitely the personality or the personability in Zoom kind of was challenging.
Through the last couple years, we kind of transitioned from in-person classes on campus. Then we had COVID-19. We did everything on Zoom, and that was just challenging for a lot of people, just conducting class just online. And you're just basically in your rooms or in the kitchen all day just doing homework. You're not physically present with others. And then now we're just gradually getting back to where we were. And it's just a weird transition for not only college students, but for other students as well in the high school, elementary school. Cody, thank you for sharing this tough topic to talk about, especially for us college students trying to approach the finish line. You take care and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Awesome, man. Thank you as well, and you as well.
We'll be right back right here on mavradio.fm.
Ghostly greetings. 14 journalists, one night. Haunted Heartland 2021. October 28th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Haunted Heartland 2021. The award-winning exclusive program only on mavradio.fm.
Welcome back to Haunted Heartland at mavradio.fm. Joey, are you hearing that little creepy noise in the back when we're talking to some people on the phone?
I wonder if it's a ghost interfering with the phone lines, Anna.
I really think it is. I mean, we don't have a sound effect board here. We're kind of creeped out because that never really happens, and we hear some kind of ghostly sound every time.
I'm a little spooked right now, Anna, just thinking about it.
All right, well, I hope wherever you're listening at right now, you're all cozy in bed because we got a lot of more stories coming up for you, including Pauline Dulang's. According to the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy, there are over 1 million registered automobiles and over 50,000 registered motorcycles in Nebraska alone. Reporter Pauline Dulang takes a deeper look into the Omaha biker community as the cold season draws near.
From the first movement of her Harley wheels, Becky Neeb takes pleasure in the control she gains when riding. She enters into a hyper-aware emotional state fueled by adrenaline and the present, only focusing on the road ahead. The wind in her hair and the freedom to ride alone makes her emotional.
I get all choked up. You don't realize the camaraderie when you're in the biker community until you're in it, and what that really does.
Neeb is a front desk receptionist for a local Omaha optometrist office. It's been 3 years since she passed her first motorcycling class, and she's been riding her Harley ever since. She's always had a love for motorcycles, but it was back in 2013 when her husband first started riding that her interest led to action.
I need to do this for myself. I need to get a license for myself and just learn how to ride. And it was probably about 4 or 5 years later that I decided, okay, take the class, go do it, take the class. And I took an all-women's biker class.
In addition to his support, Neeb's husband got her first Harley-Davidson motorcycle.
Sorry, I get so emotional about it because it is a complete family. It's a different family. And when you go to other states, or if you go to other dealerships, or whatever it may be, and you're out on your bike, or you see somebody with a Harley-Davidson t-shirt, you automatically have another family member.
You may have heard of popular biker stereotypes saying they're all gang members, violent, reckless, or elitist, but the Omaha Defiance Harley-Davidson crew hosts various community events in attempts to say otherwise. But why are some people still afraid of bikers? Where does this stigma originate from? Hunter S. Thompson was an American journalist who sparked the gonzo journalism movement.
He's here to challenge his biographer, a tense young literary journalist named Hunter Thompson.
Thompson is known for his 1967 publication, Hell's Angels, a strange and terrible saga of the outlaw motorcycle gangs.
He was the first to compare them to the outlaws of the West. The critics have been unanimous in their praise of his book. The Hells Angels haven't been heard from yet.
He writes his first-hand experiences living and riding with the notorious California motorcycle gang for almost 2 years.
Nobody stopped him. You know he beat his wife. I mean, he just did it, right? He was beating his wife. Okay. He wasn't had her on the ground with a big rock or something, you know? No. She was lying on the rock. No. He was giving her this, you know. To keep a woman in line, you got to beat him like a rug once in a while, you know?
That was a Hells Angel member telling Thompson in a 1967 CBC interview how to let the boys be.
Hunter, everybody in this room, that book is 60% cheap trash.
In a 1965 article by Thompson, he wrote, "The difference between the Hells Angels in the paper and the Hells Angels for real is enough to make a man wonder what newsprint is for. It also raises a question as to who are the real Hells Angels.
Typical Hells Angels could be anybody in this room. Somebody that likes to ride a motorcycle. I got my own home, I got a job, I got a boat and trailer, I do all things. I raise dogs, I do a little bit of everything.
World War II made it painstakingly difficult for returning veterans to adjust back to civilian life. There was a massive wave of motorcycle riders, most of them looking for an outlet away from their horrific war memories. Riding gave a sense of thrill, danger, and it helped retain that familiar feeling of camaraderie. The 1947 Hollister Riot, also known as the Hollister Invasion, was the catalyst event that shapes most of our stigmatized views on bikers today. To celebrate U.S.'s Independence Day, the American Motorcyclist Association hosted a Gypsy Tour motorcycle rally in Hollister, California. As previously mentioned, with the rise of riders, bikers flooded the small town. According to a Life magazine article covering the Hollister riot, there was an attendance of at least 4,000 motorcyclists, almost doubling the population of Hollister. The influx of bikers was great for business, but the 4th of July celebrations went a little too far for a handful of drunk bikers.
All we wanted was a couple kegs of beer so we could all get drunk.
Within a span of a 3-day event, there was excessive alcohol consumption, street racing, fighting, bikers sleeping on sidewalks and people's lawns due to the lack of housing space. One officer told Times magazine, "It's just one hell of a mess." But that the motorcyclists weren't doing anything bad, just riding up and down, whooping and hollering, not really doing any harm at all.
We take you in our home, we take you, we've given you a beer, you didn't pay for nothing.
As the Gypsy Tour event came to an end, so did the partying and commotion. But not for the media. Headlines of prominent news publications exaggerated and sensationalized the 4th of July weekend, with headlines reading Havoc in Hollister, Hollister's Bad Time, and Cyclist's Holiday. He and friends terrorize town. There's even debate of a possibly staged photo published in the San Francisco Chronicle showing a drunken man with beers in each hand sitting on a hefty motorcycle surrounded by empty, broken bottles. Media coverage of the riot was many people's first exposure to the biker community, causing panic and instilling fear in their minds. In response, the American Motorcyclist Association condemned the actions of bikers involved in the riot and said 99% of their organization are law-abiding citizens. As for the outlaws of Hollister, the 1% became a badge of honor. Soon after, a wave of outlaw biker films was released, categorizing itself as a new film genre predominantly aimed at teenagers. The depiction of the rebellious motorcycle rider was popularized by the film The Wild One, starring none other than Marlon Brando. There's more to tell on the history of the biker stigma, but the motorcycle community has come a long way from where it once was.
You'll have lots of company. Or you can relive palmier days, like this. Only a good horse is hard to find. On the other hand, you may prefer the simplicity of two wheels.
Sarah Bernhagen, the marketing and event coordinator for Defiance Harley-Davidson, says Omaha bike riders are very community-oriented, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that.
The motorcycle world is probably one of the most giving people that you can ever find. You know, we're just amazing, awesome people, and our staff is freaking awesome, and we just love people.
Bernhagen says Defiance Harley-Davidson does a tremendous amount for the community. They hold fundraisers for multiple organizations such as Moving Veterans Forward, a nonprofit dedicated to placing homeless veterans in Iowa and Nebraska in homes, Javelin, a program that provides funding for service dogs for veterans and retired first responders, and Omaha Defiance Harley-Davidson is very involved with the community homeless shelters and children's hospital fundraisers.
One of the other events that I'm proud of that we were able to do was help raise money for Operation 22, and they help veterans try to bring awareness for veterans who are committing suicide.
Bernhagen says bikers come from all walks of life. The one thing they all have in common is that they love the wind in their face and giving back to the community.
I think sometimes people look at our bikers and they think, ooh, they're a little scary looking, but you'd be surprised who's on the back of those bikes. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have nurses.
For Mav Radio, I'm Pauline Dulaine.
Defiance Harley-Davidson is located off 72nd and M. Reporter Pauline Dulaine is there now. Pauline, how are you?
I'm doing well, Anna. How are you?
Doing great. 9th annual Haunted Heartland. It's been amazing so far.
That's great.
There's that noise again. We've been hearing it. It's the ghost, Joey.
I've been hearing the ghost lately, Pauline.
Yeah, it's a little bit creepy out in these streets.
I bet. It just adds to the creepiness. And Pauline, you attended Defiance Harley-Davidson's recent event, Hot Rods and Hogs, last month. Share with us what happened.
Yeah, so basically there was just like a bunch of cars and a bunch of motorcycles. I think I even saw like a 1960s Chevrolet that was baby pink, and that was just a car of my now dreams. So there was just a bunch of awesome cars and motorcycles. Some of them were even hand painted with really interesting colors, and everybody was just so kind. Everybody wanted to share their love for motorcycles and automobiles, really.
What was one of the most impactful stories that you heard, Pauline?
As for me, I, interestingly enough, met a lot of female bikers. One of them even grabbed me and asked me to come inside and just talk to me, and she was so appreciative that I was even willing to interview them and just get to know them. And she was talking about, oh, there's that ghost noise, but she was just talking about how, and you heard it from the package, a lot of people tend to judge bikers for, just riding on a bike, and she really impacted me with her story. She even started crying a whole bunch, and made me want to maybe even try out a bike a bit. Don't know if I'll buy one yet, though.
Hey, well, you're in the right place to go and buy one, actually. And any word on any upcoming events or fundraisers Defiance Harley-Davidson is looking to hold?
Yeah, so actually, to celebrate Halloween, Harley-Davidson is throwing a Harley Halloween event this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., so that's a family-friendly event, and people can go check it out. And sometime in November, around November 6th, they're holding an event for saluting some veterans, because that's pretty close to Veterans Day, so lots of stuff that Defiance Harley-Davidson does for the community. People just got to go out there, check it out.
Well, thank you so much, Pauline, for sharing.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Joe.
Oh no, did we lose her from the ghost?
The ghost might have gobbled her up.
She's still there.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Pauline. Guys. All right, well, I don't know if I'll be hopping on a motorcycle anytime soon. That was a little freaky there at the end.
I know some people that ride motorcycles. That's just not my thing. Just be careful when you're driving behind them, though.
Definitely want to watch out for those motorcycle lights, especially at night there. And it's getting closer to nighttime here. It looks like the sun has gone down. It's almost pitch black here in Omaha, Nebraska. We'll take a break here for Haunted Heartland 2021.
You're listening to Haunted Heartland on madradio.fm.
Anna, are you the type of the haunted house person?
I enjoy a nice haunted house, yeah.
A local landmark sits among the businesses and houses in North Omaha. What's now known as Mystery Manor, the spooky fall attraction has a history that lives up to its name. Reporter Kaylee Kuhlman says the present-day owner respects the home's history and shares its artifacts with both the living and the dead.
A home that once had hope and happiness in the heart of Omaha is now a reminder of the grisly side of humanity. This multi-story, 4,500 square foot structure was built for a family but left empty after 6 days because of the sudden death of their daughter. The manor then became a brothel, next a tuberculosis ward, and finally a loving home for William and Greta Hall. The story begins in a peak of madness from the stock market crash on October 23, 1929. William Hall bludgeoned his dear wife Greta Hall in their home on 18th and Birch Street in Omaha. With a loud heartbeat in his chest, William buried Greta in the front yard the next morning. A week later, on the eve of Halloween, Greta's death was avenged. Greta's brother, John Martin, killed William with the same axe that William used to murder Greta. The married couple were then reunited underground in the yard of the manor. The next night, in the darkest hours of Halloween, John was found dead next to the grave, the infamous axe that was used to murder Greta and William, now found in John's skull. The murder remains a mystery to this day, but legend says the ghost of William Hall is to blame. Now the same building is known as Mystery Manor, Midwest's longest-running haunted attraction. Founded in 1983 and opened a year later by Wayne Seeley, a retired Air Force Staff Sergeant, Mystery Manor Haunted Theater was born, with spirits lingering every Halloween. As a professional cartoonist for over 50 years, Wayne says the Manor Hall is his greatest work of art. The art that keeps growing every year, as Wayne and his crew are constantly cleaning, planning, fixing, and rebuilding. Now on its 37th season, the theater has many themed rooms with animatronics, projectors, actors, and of course, multiple ghosts around every corner.
We have the asylum ghosts, we have the woman, the son, and then we have the entity that's in the bottom floors. There's a lot of ghosts. I would say there's like 15 or 16.
That's Wayne's granddaughter and actress Morgan Seeley. The manor has been her second home since she was an infant. Her grandfather owns the manor currently with his family by his side, along with many passionate employees and staff. Nevertheless, he relies on the public to be the main actor in the manor.
Worst actor in your house is your house. So, be honest with you, the number one actors in our house happens to be the public, because our house is seen through their eyes.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Kaylee Coleman.
Mystery Manor Haunted Theater is open at dusk every night leading up to Halloween until 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. on Fridays and Saturday. Reporter Kaylee Coleman is there right now. Hey Kaylee, how are you doing out there?
I'm doing good, Joey. How are you?
I'm great. Our 9th annual Haunted Heartland special. I'm just happy to be here. Now, Anna and I were wondering, going into this show, and just pretty much in general, has there been actual proof of ghosts there?
Yeah, there has been a few paranormal investigations conducted here over the years. I believe the last one was done in 2010, but they have a ton of examples of like ghosts and photos and videos and EVPs on their website, Mystery Manor.
Have you had any encounters with ghosts, Kaylee?
No, I haven't personally, but when I was going through the Mystery Manor, when I was conducting my interview, they gave me a tour, and I could feel the energy, but I didn't see any actual proof. I could just feel the energy of people that have died in the room.
How much does it cost to go through the haunted house?
Yeah, admission is $14 a person, and $25 for a fast pass, which gives you access to the front of the line. And then it takes about 30 minutes to go through the whole haunted theater, or longer, depending on kind of group sizes. And then they also have separate rates for larger groups.
And now we're just about finished with Halloween. Are there any other time of the year besides Halloween season they are open?
They're actually open in April for their event called Ghouls Gone Wild, which is actually 2 weekends of the last 2 weekends of the month. So the 22nd, 23rd, 29th, and 30th. And I think these 2 weekends just give people a good haunting experience in spring when they may be missing it the most.
Well, mark that on your calendars, just a few months away. Thank you, Kaylee. You stay safe out there. Try to avoid being spooked from all the ghouls and ghosts and clowns that are there. Like I said, Anna, I've just encountered some paranormal activity. I live in a house that was built in 1889 by a former Civil War captain, and there's just two ghosts there. The Civil War captain passed away just shoveling snow, and then there's another one. There was an explosion on the house next door, and a person was brought over, and they were pronounced dead there. You see some shadows every once in a while in the staircase. There's just some weird unknown presence.
Creepy.
Very creepy, very spooky.
Joey, I'm never coming to your house, just so you know.
Well, I'm not inviting you anyway.
You know what else is a little spooky, Joey?
What is?
And this isn't even ghosts, this is real life. Consumer price inflation. It's running at a 30-year high, and the Federal Reserve Chairman says it could stick around for a while. In Omaha, retailers are already seeing the impact. Fewer employers, higher prices, and longer lines. Reporter Phil Pierce says an area garden center is also feeling the pressure.
It's early,
Before the sun rises over the Heartland kind of early. Outside, the morning dew is cold. The gorgeous glow of orange, yellow, and purple flowers and bushes greets the daylight. Fall at the local garden center is arguably one of the most beautiful sights in the city for horticulturists. Inside the building, another story is told. The only noise is the piercing of phones constantly ringing, customers gathering outside waiting for the doors to be unlocked. Papers are scattered on the desk and stock from the night before isn't put away. What's worse? You're the only employee that showed up.
It's hard because it's a hit to your morale as it is your motivation when you come to work and you don't have help. It's hard to deal with that.
Unemployment in Nebraska hovers at 2.2%, the lowest in the state's recorded history. While that sounds like a robust economy, the downside is this: overworked staff and upset customers. Retail employee Nora Stibbs enjoys her job helping gardeners choose the perfect plant to spruce up their landscapes. She's been doing it for 2 seasons. Nora says the current economy is unlike anything she's seen. The extra hours are good for her pocket, but it comes at the cost of fatigue, mistakes, and the usual happy work environment, now a daily stressor.
Obviously, the lack of hands can severely impact productivity of the store, selling, what you can get done, and who's there to help you. So if there's a shortage of any kind, it affects everyone that's currently working.
As the country reopens, unemployment protections end, and people return to work coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020, Business Insider reports that the current labor shortage is attributed to 3 mismatches between workers and employers. Those being a skill mismatch where employers are turning away eligible workers because of their skill set, usually those with higher skills. Second, folks have moved during the pandemic, leaving jobs open and unfilled. And finally, workers today have higher expectations and increased demands from their employer.
I think there are days where I'm definitely not getting compensated enough. When there's a shortage, when there's no help, like I said, you really have to step it up, and there's no reflection of that in your pay.
Of course, this economic trend isn't just affecting workers. It has customers exasperated as well. Omaha resident Carol Keller typically enjoys the process of shopping. However, she says that's changed because of the bare shelves in retail stores, reduced inventory, and higher sticker prices are made even worse by the lack of good customer service.
I think very conscious of the fact that there aren't as many people helping, and so try to be as efficient and not demanding.
She says that it's annoying enough that she turns to online shopping rather than traditional brick-and-mortar buildings. One study by Big Commerce found that 96% of Americans shop online. The benefits include shopping from your bed, the office, or even your bathroom. Still, many shoppers like Carol enjoy browsing products in person and interacting with others.
There are definitely shortages. I do artificial flower arrangements, and I have had to go multiple places to get different flowers that I wanted for those arrangements.
40% of all shipping containers imports to the U.S. Those ships have been stuck on either coast for weeks. The bottleneck of supply is causing anxiety for businesses depending on retail sales over the upcoming holidays. It's also left consumers wondering what kind of gifts will trim the tree. Nora says everyone's stress level is elevated right now. She urges folks to practice the golden rule. Treat others the way you wish to be treated.
It is a double-edged sword because there is an understanding that we are short-staffed, but that understanding doesn't always translate to the kindness that it should.
For mavradio.fm, I'm Philip Pierce.
Hey, and one thing that isn't too spooky about this story is that Nebraska's unemployment rate is among the lowest in the nation. So shout out Nebraska. Got a lot of job openings. Move to Nebraska, get a job, live a life. Nebraska. Little commercial for Nebraska there, why not? Well, we have Philip Pierce here to talk about his story and to tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the gardens over there. Philip, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Great. Haunted Heartland. Spooky. Are you spooked out there? It's getting dark out.
It is getting dark.
All right. Well, how is the garden staff faring today?
They're doing good today. Luckily the season is kind of a seasonal job, so the season's kind of winding down here with the fall. So they've had a little more leeway to kind of get caught up on things. So seemed like a good day for them today.
Hey, and what advice would you give consumers frustrated with the current stock outages and service going into those holidays?
I would just say, you gonna have to be patient, unfortunately. I think we've been kind of lucky having, the ability to get the things that we want when we can. Right now is just not quite the same as it's been, and hopefully that'll kind of get back to normal over time and won't be an issue anymore.
And what advice would you give workers struggling with the short staff?
I would say rely, on your coworkers the best you can. Communicate the best you can just to get through the day. If somebody's struggling, try and help them out. Do the best with what you have, and eventually you'll get through it, and it'll be all right.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for letting us know about the status of those gardens out there and just the status of jobs in Omaha, Nebraska, and across the United States. Thanks so much, Phil. All right, well, it's Haunted Heartland. We're going to take a break here, catch our breath. You snuggle up with your favorite blanket because we got some more stories for you here. 2021, Haunted Heartland.
Hi, friend. Don't you just love the shinies? Oh, you are scared. You want to leave? You can't leave. I haven't even told you my story. You are listening to Haunted Heartland.
Now, Anna, have you been to Hooper, Nebraska?
No, I don't think so, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, well, Hooper, Nebraska is not a place many Nebraskans are familiar with. If they have heard of it at all, they likely think of the Olympic volleyball great Jordan Larson, who grew up in the area. Reporter Bree Smith takes us to the landmark to hear the haunting tales of the family who has lived in the church for the past 15 years and remind us that scary stories come in all shapes and sizes.
Among the quilted farmland that blankets much of the heartland, 55 miles away from Omaha's bustling neighborhoods, is the sleepy town of Hooper. Population 810, where families trace back generations and still carry on hometown traditions. It was first settled in 1854 and became legally incorporated in 1871. After being destroyed by a storm in 1880, St. Paul's Lutheran Church was quickly rebuilt. The current church building was constructed in 1902, a feat made even more impressive when considering the 85-foot-tall steeple. The congregation held services in German until 1917, a timeline that can be measured by taking a quick stroll through the cemetery. Many of the oldest plots show birth dates that predate the church. One of the oldest headstones marks the grave of a woman who lived from 1800 to 1890. For those who believe in the supernatural, this small rural plot of land probably seems intriguing. Remote and historic are two qualifications for any decent ghost story. For the people who live there, it's more than just a spooky story.
Yeah, no, one day I was the only one in the house, and I was upstairs in my room playing a game with my friends, and I hear music coming from downstairs, and I'm like, that's odd, no one's in the house, what's going on here? Go downstairs, and all the lights are out, and it's dead silent. I turn around to go back upstairs, and it feels like someone reaches out and grabs me by the shoulder.
14-year-old Jacob Smith was just 2 months old when his family moved into the church parsonage. Since moving into the parsonage, which was built shortly after the church, the Smith family have picked up a handful of stories that just can't be explained away. Jacob's mother, Stacy, has grown up around the church grounds. She and her siblings were part-time caretakers of the cemetery grounds in her teenage years. Back then, she says she never thought much about ghosts or the eeriness of working in a cemetery. Since living on the grounds, she's experienced a few things that have swayed her skepticism.
And we heard this ringing, and we had already unplugged all of the phones that were like home phones, but we didn't have a phone line. And we just hear this ringing, and we where's that coming from? We followed it all the way upstairs. There was a phone that hung on the wall, and I picked it up, and there wasn't anybody there. I just kept saying hello, hello, but it was the weirdest thing because it wasn't plugged in.
As far as historical records show, no one has ever passed away in the church parsonage. The edge of the cemetery, though, is only about 500 feet from the house. While Stacy helped to take care of the cemetery when she was in high school, that job now falls to her son. He claims he's never seen anything scarier than a few big bull snakes there, but Stacy recently had an odd encounter while helping out. She was picking up flowers that had been blown across the cemetery and arranging them nicely where they belonged.
Kneeled down to put the flowers back on this one stone, and as soon as I was getting up from kneeling, somebody said, "That looks really nice."
Smith says she always wears protective headphones when mowing in the cemetery, and that the headphones are mostly soundproof. At first, she tried to reason it away.
And I looked over my shoulder to see who was talking to me, and there was nobody to my right, so I turned to my left, and there was nobody to my left either.
Her second thought was that maybe someone had been speaking into a microphone in the church. Because the speakers connect outside, it's fairly common to hear voices that don't seem to belong to anyone. But there were no cars parked in front of the church.
Which means perhaps the person whose stone I was cleaning off just wanted to compliment my work that day.
The church building itself has its own set of tales. Whenever the church holds events down in its basement, the Smiths are generally the ones responsible for washing the used towels afterwards. Jacob recalls one night where he was sent over to return the towels.
I'd done that, and I closed the drawer, and it must have been a weird echo or something. I swear I heard chains rattling.
That's not the only example of unexplained sounds in the basement. Stacy said her other children have also come running into the house, scared because they thought they heard someone clapping in the church's basement. Surprisingly enough, one of the scariest things to have happened in the Smiths' memories of their home didn't have anything to do with the disembodied voices or clapping sounds. The old church building has witnessed a number of storms in its history, but in June of 2016, one storm hit a little harder than normal.
There was one day in June where I looked up at the sky and it was like the color of a green lightsaber.
The National Weather Service reported wind gusts of about 65 miles per hour that day, or about the equivalent of an EF1 tornado. The Smiths watched several trees be uprooted in front of their house, but that wasn't the worst of the damage.
Then there was a lightning flash, and I saw this glint of silver on the ground, and my heart just sank because I knew already what that was.
The nearly 90-foot-tall, 114-year-old tower had fallen directly in front of the church. Smith says that in this regard they were very lucky. While the spooky little ghost stories the Smith family has acquired during their time in their home are often fun to tell, this story was a stark reminder.
But sometimes it is the very realistic, natural things that we should really be afraid of, because they can do a lot of damage.
It took 2 years and over $100,000, but the congregation was eventually able to build back the steeple at St. Paul's.
And it was just a very sad, mournful feeling, but word spread around quickly, and it was a very community-building experience it turned into for our church.
In a way, the story of the steeple is no different from any other ghost story the Smiths share. Sometimes things in life can get scary, but learning to accept and grow with the scary things is just a part of living. For mavradio.fm, I'm Bree Smith.
St. Paul's Lutheran Church of Hooper, Nebraska recently celebrated their 150th anniversary. Now, the church still holds weekly services every Sunday, and you can find Jacob and Stacy working in the ceremony nearly every Saturday. Reporter Bree Smith joining here in the studio to tell us more about this place. Hey Bree, how are you doing this fine evening for Hana Heartland?
I'm doing great, Joey. I'm glad I'm here and not 50 miles away.
Yeah, you're safe in the studio right now, but let me ask you this. What is your connection to this church?
So this church is actually where I grew up. I was able to interview my mom and my brother for this story. It was really fun to tell all these spooky little stories because I just love telling people.
I had some encounters as well on vacation at a cabin in Arizona where someone just randomly knocked on the door a few times. We answered it, no one's there. But anyway, what can you tell us about the church grounds? Describe the physical appearance of the place in Hooper, Nebraska.
So the church itself is surrounded by cornfields all the way around. So you have to drive about a mile down the road just to get into the church parking lot. The cemetery stops about 500 feet from my house. So growing up, that was always a really fun, spooky thing for my friends and I to go do. We'd dare each other to walk through the cemetery in the dark. It was so fun.
Has there been any actual proof of ghosts in there. Were there any video or photographic evidence of them?
So we've never actually been able to capture anything on video or anything like that. I have a very vivid memory of coming out of my room in the middle of the night, and my dad had happened to walk out of his room at the same time, and we watched the attic door swing open and shut several times by itself, and we ended up just having to put something up against it because we didn't know what was causing it.
Should we consider informing the ghost adventurers or ghost hunters to come visit and stay the night and do some investigation there?
You should definitely send them out, yeah.
Yeah, I was at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado at the same time, or a little after Ghost Adventures was there. But have you ever experienced anything paranormal there personally?
We've had a lot of like dolls making sounds on their own when they're not motion activated.
Oh,
that was probably the scariest of it.
Yeah, creepy dolls. Before you go, do you have any final thoughts or comments you would like to make regarding the church?
I really enjoyed growing up in this place, even though it was kind of spooky at times. It's made for some really fun stories to tell.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for our 2021 Haunted Heartland right here on mapradio.fm.
You aren't afraid of a little radio station, are you? Didn't think so.
So keep listening to Haunted Heartland on mapradio.fm.
Well, it's good to have you back here, Anna. How was your break from dealing with me?
Oh, it was much needed, Joey. You wear me out, man.
Yeah, I do wear you out. I annoy you a lot of the time.
But we love it. Well, we got another story coming up here, Joey. It's a little more serious, but it also can tell you a little bit more about yourself and some things that might scare you. Depression, anxiety, stress, and even heart troubles can be the result of watching horror movies. It's true according to a study by the doctors at wellspan.org. Heart troubles. That seems like a stretch, right? Although repeated bouts exposing yourself to intense emotions cause your organs to weaken over time. Not only that, but depression can result in overreacting, lack of exercise, and sleep issues. Reporter Zach Hill examines our psychological attraction to scary movies and why it's so captivating to folks, even those who say they dislike the genre.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
Foxwell Nervig is a horror movie fanatic owning over 650 Blu-rays with over 200 being horror, a few of which are signed by icons such as Tom Savini and Kane Hodder. He says what keeps him coming back is the way writers and directors are able to bring their worst fears to life and use them to their advantage.
Most movies are like fantastical scenarios that are like never gonna happen in real life, but movies allow them to play out. And so the filmmakers find ways to bring people's fears to the forefront. So it's like we can live out our fears in a way.
He says you really just have to be the right kind of person to want the feelings that scary movies give you.
To be into horror movies, you have to like being scared to a certain degree for the adrenaline or whatever, like your heart starts pumping in. So maybe people like that feeling, and so they watch scary movies to get that feeling.
Licensed psychologist Dr. Sally Winston has plenty of experience in this field. As the director of the Anxiety and Stress Institute of Maryland and author of Overcoming Unwanted and Intrusive Thoughts, she's seen the effects these films can have on someone.
Acute adrenaline surges and rapid heartbeat and tense muscles, and sometimes you have a spontaneous scream if something jumps out at you, and your body is most certainly affected. That's the point of horror movies, is to trick your brain into thinking you're in danger even when you're not in danger.
She says most will be fine sitting down to enjoy one of these flicks, but those with anxiety sensitivity who only pay attention to the fact that they are being scared may have issues.
If you notice your body getting scared, like a rapid heartbeat or fast breathing or, all the things that come from being scared, if you're scared of being scared, which is what anxiety sensitivity is, then you can add, oh my God, what's happening to me? This is dangerous, and then have a panic attack.
Other than anxiety sensitivity, most other effects are not very harmful.
And you might have trouble falling asleep because you'll have intrusive thoughts or intrusive images. And images are actually, they stay stronger in your memory than even thoughts.
And loss of sleep would only be a problem if substances were used to cope.
And then you struggle with it and you try to make yourself sleep, or you drink a lot of alcohol or something else to try and make yourself sleep, then that's a problem.
Even if we're not aware of it in the moment, there are ways we divert our attention in situations of higher stress.
If you eat, if you cuddle up with somebody, if you close your eyes at the worst scene, or you divert yourself, a lot of people do actually exercise some control over how much they let themselves see and how much they let themselves feel.
Some may not even have issues with the way they react to a horror movie, but rather have an issue with the actual contents of one.
If you're offended by a certain level of violence or gore or behavior and you don't want to see it because you're morally opposed to that, then of course you should review what a movie is going to be like and decide whether or not it's morally okay with you to watch it.
But for those people, it could just be that they chose the wrong film to watch.
For horror movies going too far, it all depends on personal taste. You look at really famous horror movies like The Shining, and it has barely any gore in it. But then you also look at movies that are really famous, like some of the Friday the 13th films. Those get pretty gory.
In terms of putting psychotic thoughts into someone's head, Dr. Winston says that would only be possible if one were to have a mental illness already and lost their distance between themselves and the movie.
Then of course that can stimulate or trigger violent behavior. But as we know, most people with mental illness are not violent, and that movies don't cause people to become violent. That would be a very, very unusual thing.
As for the positives of scary movies, it's possible they even outweigh the negatives.
Horror movies are sometimes prescribed for people who have this very, very high trait of anxiety sensitivity, people who are scared of arousal in their bodies. Then part of the therapy that they're going to have is to deliberately invoke those arousal symptoms so that they can get used to them and not be so scared of them.
For someone like Fox, it's about exploring cinema in a wider scope.
Instead of just mainstream blockbusters that you see all the time at movie theaters that are advertising stuff, you get to see a lot more smaller indie things that are really low budget.
It also gives more of a reason to go back and see what movies were like in the earlier days of film history and see how they've evolved over time.
Psycho, released in 1960. I check it out, or some of those classic Universal monster movies from the 30s and 40s. Just being able to explore cinema and broaden my horizon from just what I've known my whole life.
But at the end of the day, it's really all about the community it builds.
It allows me to have a group of people that I can be a part of, and I even went to the convention in Texas just a few weeks ago, and that was fun just to be able to talk about something that I love just as much as these other people love. It just allows me to connect with a lot of people.
For mavradio.fm, I'm Zachary Hill.
So there is no real harm in sitting down to watch a horror movie. That means for now, directors will continue to push boundaries and potentially create new fears you didn't even know you had. Zach Hill is over at a movie theater in Exarban. Zach, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing great. Well, I don't know how I feel after hearing about all these effects of movies.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple people going in and out of the theater, not too many. It's Thursday, not super busy. But, maybe a couple people are even seeing, the new Halloween movie. Maybe get a couple screams from that, but yeah.
Definitely, and it was mentioned a loss of sleep being a side effect as well. What are the biggest issues with the loss of sleep?
There are a few things, nothing too huge unless it's kind of a consistent thing, but a study by the University of Toledo in 2017 actually found that people who watch more than 2 hours of just any TV, not even just horror, but any TV in general, have a greater level of depression than people who view TV a little bit less. So obviously that's a big thing. Other than that, there are some things like increased risk of hypertension and heart attack and even stroke, but that's only, if you're consistently just feeding these things into yourself.
Yeah, well, we don't want any of that, Zach. So what are some things someone can do to enjoy horror movies in a healthy way?
So, I guess a couple were kind of mentioned in the story, watching with someone, that's always comforting. Distracting yourself by snacking, also very enjoyable to partake in. But you could also do things like just simply leaving the lights on so you're not as creeped out, or just kind of regulating how much you watch. So whether it's like once a week or maybe even once a month, maybe even some people just once a year, but everyone be a little bit different. But as long as you're just kind of paying attention to how much is right for you and regulating it that way.
And Zach, I guess the biggest question here with all these side effects, has anyone actually ever died from watching a horror film?
There are a couple instances that could suggest people were maybe influenced of death from horror movies. Obviously, there are some urban legends, some that might be a little more truthful than others, but one of the first was actually back in 1956 in Utah. A 9-year-old boy was watching a horror double feature, and he very sadly actually had heart conditions that the parents didn't know about. And I guess one of the scenes was just too much for him, and he passed away in the theater. But that's just, we don't know if any of them are true. It could be, it might just be urban legend, but still very scary to think about in some circumstances.
Yeah, that is scary to think about. Well, thank you so much, Zach.
Yeah,
stay safe at the movie theaters then.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Joey, not gonna watch a scary movie soon, are you?
No, not really. I've watched some scary movies several times. Seen some Stanley Kubrick films, or just related to Stephen King books. One of the things that scares me from movies is the twin sisters just talking at the same time, saying, "Come play with me.
No, thank you.
We'll have fun forever."
I don't like that, Joey. That's pretty bad.
Well, let's just change the topic here, Anna.
Please.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind for Halloween?
I think of pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns, all that good stuff.
I just think of costumes and trick-or-treating. But in the United States, Halloween is associated with costumes, tricks or treating, and ghostly creatures, whether frightening or funny. The 2,000-year-old tradition, it's become a big business for Western businesses. The National Retail Federation expects consumers will shell out almost $65 per person in decorations, costumes, and of course the best part is candy. It's become mega business, and reporter JP Sidwell says the figure keeps on climbing each year.
Halloween is big in America. In 2017, Halloween-related sales peaked at $3 billion US. Americans dropped $8.05 billion on Halloween-related items in 2020. Sales are expected to grow by $2 billion this year. That's about $7 billion more than in 2017. So what even is Halloween?
Oh, no, man.
The word Halloween actually comes from Scottish. The Scots version of Halloween was borrowed from the Old English phrase All Hallows Eve. Hallow meaning a saint or holy person, and Eve meaning the night before. The festivities of All Hallows Eve related and stem from the ancient holiday Samhain, a date found in the 8th month pagan calendar. Now this day is famous for when the pagans honored the dead. Festivals included sacrifices by fire, wearing animal hides, and connecting with the spiritual world. Migration and adaptation allowed this holiday to spread like wildfire. These festivities were later adopted by Christians and was renamed Hallows Eve. The Christians later recognized this holiday as All Saints' Day. Mexico recognizes this holiday as the Day of the Dead. Most Americans recognize Halloween with terror. And candy.
Are you guys going trick-or-treating?
My friend who lives in Uganda says that festivities about Halloween are hardly recognized in his community.
In the month of October, all things are normal.
I asked Kato what holidays they do celebrate, and his answer was,
Yeah, that is Christmas, we have the Easter Sunday, Monday, and so on. I do watch them on TV. Yes, I do watch those events on TV.
As for watching those events on TV,
For us, we don't celebrate anything. Give me a brief of it, the date, how it goes, the time when it begins.
we can begin, celebrating it.
Holidays over in Uganda are simple. They celebrate Christian holidays. The reason why Uganda doesn't celebrate Halloween is because they didn't grow up with it. Kato's request made me wonder what I believe Halloween is. In Hawaii, they carve faces on pineapples instead of pumpkins. But what does this all symbolize? In the United States, most holidays are economic gold mines. Many U.S. holidays have been psychologically manipulated by big business in order to turn a profit. Holidays here may be elusive, manipulated, and of course, spooky. But they are fun. Oh, yeah! And I think we all enjoy them. What would Halloween be like without big business? Would it just be another day? According to my neighbor, Ben Howard,
I would spend a lot of money on Halloween.
and I asked him why he'd spend a lot, he replied,
It's kind of what people do for a certain holiday.
and you know what, he isn't wrong.
There's some sort of manipulation going on. Holidays are a good selling point.
That they are, my friend, that they are.
Why? Obviously, costumes and new types of decorations. Valentine's Day is rather commercialized.
Who's taking advantage of it?
Corporate America.
Family, religion, friendship. These are the 3 demons you must slay if you wish to succeed in business.
Holidays are a good selling point.
Wow. That's some spooky stuff. What has more influence, spirits or sales? What holds more ground, saints or dollar signs? What is Halloween? It's American. It's pagan. It's Mexican. It's religious. It has ties in Scotland. But will we ever know its true meaning? My name is JP. You are listening to Haunted Heartland on mavradio.fm.
The NRF says home furniture and gift sales plummet in October. JP is outside at a local retail store and says the rainy weather isn't dampening any spirits. JP, how are you doing out there?
Oh, we're doing wonderful.
Yeah, from your research, what is one of the most bizarre celebrations associated with Halloween?
Well, throughout time, after learning about the pagans, they had the most bizarre story to me. They would, dance around fires and wear costumes that probably aren't similar to today's costumes. They'd throw on animal hides and, they'd sacrifice the animals, and I think that's pretty bizarre to me.
Where did you begin celebrating Halloween? Was that just introduced to you when you were just a little child?
Yeah, when I was little, we used to just go over to my grandma's house, and we'd walk around our neighborhood, trick or treat. I figure just getting costumes and stuff, my grandma used to sew them and make our costumes. It's like the family aspect is where I was introduced to Halloween originally.
Yeah, and the family aspect is just fun. I remember dressing up as a little Pooh Bear, just going on the top of the stairs, and there's so many people at the door, and then I got knocked down the cliff, and bad experience on one of those Halloweens. I got a question for you. What is the must-have costume of the season?
Well, according to the statistics I looked up, Michael Myers is the top-selling costume, and then falls Harley Quinn, then Ghostface, and Beetlejuice. So those right now, to 2021 Halloween, those are the top-selling costumes to have.
Now, let's transition over to the candy sales. Is there a local favorite for candy?
Yeah, so Reese's Cups are at the top of the ladder right now, and they're selling like mad. I bet you've seen commercials of them. They're just at that top of the ladder.
Yeah, I've seen some commercials.
Yeah, Skittles, M&Ms, and Starburst are up there too, but, Reese's, they've claimed the top of the ladder this year.
Thank you, JP. Enjoy the rest of Haunted Heartland 2021. Be safe out there, and thank you again.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great Halloween.
You do the same. And Anna, before we go to the next story, we gotta talk about candy. Is there a particular candy you just love eating, and is there some you just refrain from having?
I would say the number one's got to be any sort of chocolate. Reese's, like JP mentioned, are just elite. Also, Twix, Kit Kat, can't go wrong with those.
Yeah, Kit Kat, I just love Kit Kat. Those are addicting. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Crunch Bars as well. Stay away from the candy corn.
No candy corn here.
No candy corn. I see that in the little bowl in my house, and My family will eat them, but I'm just like...
My parents put it out too. Does anyone eat it? I don't know. Maybe my dog eats it.
There's a
I don't know.
particular demographic for that type of candy.
And they shouldn't be listening.
Yeah.
No candy corn lovers. Well, another interesting thing about Halloween has to do with psychics. Arguably one of the United States' most famous illusionists, not psychics, spent years hoping to expose these fraudulent psychics that they weren't too sure about. Harry Houdini even went as far as lobbying Congress to enact a fortune-telling ban, criminalizing the practice in Washington, D.C., and then in 1926, Houdini died, and he took along any knowledge he learned in his years as a magician. So there's a magician versus psychic thing we got going on here, Joey. We see more of those here in Omaha with the psychics, whether it be in person or on television, especially in Omaha. And there's a list of readily available psychics, and reporter Stephanie Veloso says that one Omaha psychic discovered her abilities at a young age.
Although others claim that they developed talents to communicate with spirits and ghosts later in life, Caitlin Rose knew she was different. The 23-year-old knew from a young age that she could hear and see things that others couldn't.
I would say I've been a psychic medium my whole life, but to be actively using it is about 4 years, and for using it for other people would be about a year.
It wasn't until Caitlin was vocal about what she was experiencing that she realized this wasn't common.
I came to realize it around 7 or 8 years old when I would talk to my peers about spirits or ghosts and stuff, and they would not share the same experiences.
Caitlin says she tried her best to ignore the experiences she was having throughout elementary, middle school, and high school. It wasn't until after graduating high school that Caitlin acknowledged her unusual abilities. According to a YouGov America online article written by Yael Bain, 38% of U.S. adults report feeling a spirit at some point in their life. The article also says that in general, women are more likely than men to experience a psychic episode or ghostly entity. As a young woman, Caitlin had already experienced these exact circumstances.
I kind of started re-emerging and experiencing more things, as in hearing spirits or seeing spirits, and that's when I decided to just continue on it more and just learn it and learn how to use it for other people.
She says that her contact with spirits mainly occurred at home, a place where she felt comfortable and safe.
To actually be in contact with spirit, you have to be in a pretty relaxed state.
After everything she had experienced, Caitlin was lost, confused, and seeking guidance. All she wanted to know was what it was she was experiencing and why no one around her could relate to what she was feeling. Caitlin decided to seek out Kelly Miller, a professional local psychic and crystal store owner. Caitlin had attended one of Kelly's live reading shows in the past and chose to reconnect.
I personally liked Kelly because she's more outgoing and she's just more down to earth.
With Kelly as her guide, Caitlin began to comprehend why she had experienced strange interactions with the undead from such a young age. Kelly Miller took her under her wing and helped her further and develop her skills. Caitlin began working at Miller's store, where she was able to learn how to use her abilities to help others. Now an expert, Caitlin describes what her psychic reading sessions look like.
When I do my psychic readings, it's always real life stuff. So it's going to be your finances, your jobs, your health, your relationships.
Caitlin also serves as a medium for her clients. According to an article from the AP News, a medium is a communicator between two worlds, or someone who has extrasensory perception and can talk to the spirit world.
When they come in for a mediumship, then it's going to be more like departed loved ones or spirits.
Caitlin recalls how she struggled when she first started working at Kelly Miller's store, Awakenings. A few of Caitlin's co-workers offered to be practice clients.
Jessica was actually one of my first clients, and she did it more of as a favor so I could practice this for someone else.
36-year-old Jessica O'Shell volunteered to help Caitlin develop her talents.
If you ever need, practice, I'm more than willing to help.
After working together for a few weeks, Jessica asked Caitlin if she could perform a reading on her.
I actually started my own side business, so I had actually questions about that. Do you have any advice on ABC? Do you see what's going to happen here?
Although Jessica came to her reading with Caitlin with one purpose, it ended up turning into something more.
She came in and she just wanted to know, because she was starting to do astrology for other people, and she just wanted to know if this was good timing. I was like, do you want to look into other divination?
While Caitlin's experiences have been positive so far, she describes that her job can be tough sometimes.
My absolute most difficult part of the job is either delivering unfavorable news, giving someone a hard truth that they don't want to hear, or dealing with clients who maybe lost a son or a daughter.
Although her heart feels heavy after certain sessions, Caitlin says that she constantly reminds herself of her end goal.
The most common emotion is actually kind of realization, but then also I would say happiness, because I try to uplift people. I don't want to scare them. I want to give them the best possible outcome.
I'm Stephanie Veloso for MavRadio.fm.
Rose and O'Shell are currently working on a store expansion and will be opening another Awakenings location in Gretna. The next time you feel a sudden chill down your back, remember to never fully rule out any possibility, because at the end of the day, anyone can possess this unique ability. They just might not know it. Reporter Stephanie Veloso is at Awakening in West Omaha. Stephanie, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing great. We're getting down to the final hour of Haunted Heartland. It's getting spookier and spookier in here.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Kelly Miller's store?
Yes, here at Awakenings, this is a store for the community. It's a store for anybody that has the slightest interest in card readings, in crystals, and communicating with their past loved ones. It's a friendly environment. You see people from all ages here, young kids, with their grandparents, with their parents. So it's definitely a welcoming store with a lot of things to offer.
Hey, and what products and services can customers find at Awakenings?
Yes, they have a huge variety here. They sell crystals and gemstones. They have divination tools. They have essential oils, incense, jewelry. There's gifts for families. Pretty much anything you can think of, you can find here at a variety of prices.
Just in time for the holiday season. How about that?
Yes, it's the perfect place.
And a store expansion we hear might be on the horizon. Can you give us any more details of that?
Actually, within the last month, they opened another location in Sioux Falls in South Dakota. So Kelly Miller's business is expanding. They also recently legally franchised and opened another store in Louisiana. The grand opening is November 19th. And for any more info, you can go to their webpage, awakeningstore.com.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing that information. We'll be sure to check that out as well. I've got quite a bit of interest in all those crystals out there. I definitely need to restock on mine. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Awesome. Of course. Thank you.
Joey, got any crystals by your bed?
No, I do not. They're very shiny, though. They are very beautiful.
I got some rose quartz sitting around in my room, put it on my dresser, put it near my bed, sleep under it.
Just a little decoration, or just any purpose for that?
Just to bring more love into your life, Joey. Bring more love and happiness and good vibes.
I guess I need to bring good vibes.
We should have brought some in the studio with us today.
I got some wearing on me.
You've got some bright, shiny ghosts on your neck. A little
you got
festival necklace.
You got some pumpkins on you.
Mine are not lit up, though,
yeah, they're
Joey.
not lit
like
up
yours.
Because I'm the bright one.
Oh, that's a good one, Joey. Save that for later, because we're coming back with more stories, more Halloween puns. We'll be back in a flash.
You are listening to Haunted Heartland on MavRadio.fm.
Hey Anna, when's the last time you gone to the Henry Dory Zoo?
I would say about 2 years ago with my friend's nanny families. Had to keep track of them around the zoo. It was kind of crazy.
Well, I go every often around my birthday time, just seeing what new exhibits they have there. But did you know they have a Halloween little special going on?
No, I didn't. I would assume all the animals are bundled up in their cages right now, but is there something going on?
Yeah, Omaha's biggest attraction is venturing into an even more expansive role as the Henry Dory Zoo looks to provide a safe and friendly environment for trick-or-treaters and their families. Reporter Dakota Bachman says Ghouls and Glow started in 2019 to great reviews.
Omaha's biggest attraction is venturing out into an even more expansive role as the Henry Dory Zoo looks to cash in on all of the Halloween fun to be had. Ghouls and Glow began in 2019 and was a great success. With the pandemic halting the fun in 2020, 2021 proves to be more promising as the dozens of silk and wire statues look to glow up your Omaha Zoo this October. Nearly 400 silk and wire figures scattered throughout the zoo's walkways illuminate the night through the month of October, thanks to the hard-working Henry Dorley Zoo staff.
These lights are shaped like pumpkins, fish, skeletons, bats, and everything in between, leaving the entire footprint of the event space in Halloween decor. Hi, my name is Emily Birch, and I am an event assistant at the Omaha Zoo. A lot of hard work goes into an event like Ghouls and Glow. It all starts with setup for 4 weeks before the actual event begins.
This is the big hitter for the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo for the month of October, as families look for friendly and unique things to do with each other. In addition to your pumpkin patch festivities, the Omaha Zoo is the new king of the Halloween jungle with a light show for all ages. If you don't believe me, let's take the assistant manager of marketing and events at the zoo, Elizabeth Gow's word.
This is the main attraction being a lighted lantern show that takes place in our Bay Family's Children Adventure Trails. So essentially there are over 400 silk and wire lanterns that are created that are placed that light up the night for guests to come through.
It's Christmas in October. The red and green has been replaced with orange and purple, all through the lens of great, passionate employees looking to put on a show for all ages. Families should look forward to the lights and statues, but there's also
trick-or-treating. In 2019, we did not have trick-or-treating. However, we received feedback from guests that was really important to them. So this year, trick-or-treating is back. We have over 1 million pieces of candy that will be available at different treat stations throughout the zoo.
And if the candy isn't doing it for you,
food will be available at our Sea Turtle Cafe, which is located at our aquarium.
And it wouldn't be a trip to the zoo without a peek at some animals.
The exhibits that are included for Ghouls and Glow are our Suzanne and Walter Scott Aquarium, our Kingdoms of the Night, our Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom Pavilion, and then the lanterns themselves are located in Bay Family's Children Adventure Trails.
And what other surprises can guests expect?
Some other activities that Ghouls and Glow includes are a magician. We have Joe Cole's Magic Show. We have a DJ. We have Omaha Circus Arts performing. They do a fire ring and different performances throughout the night. We have Omaha Street Percussion, which also does performances throughout the night for guests. We have Animal Ambassador experiences for guests.
And as she said before, they will have trick-or-treating. And costumes are more than encouraged for children, because why wait until the 31st to cash in on all the Halloween fun?
For this event, we are expecting 30,000 attendees, and to attend the event, you will need to purchase a ticket. Tickets can be purchased online for a discounted rate, and prices vary depending on the date. So if you're a member and if you're an adult or a child, you're going to be paying a different price.
The Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo is a nonprofit organization who are among world leaders in animal conservation, where your money will look to help provide conservation efforts for all types of species, as well as maintaining one of the world's highest regarded zoos.
Proceeds from ticket sales are allocated toward animal health and wellness and enrichment programs, as well as furthering conservation efforts worldwide and around the zoo.
So please, be prepared to enjoy your night, and don't forget your wallet. A big thank you to Emily Burchin and Elizabeth Gow for sitting down with me. We hope to see you all there and enjoy your Halloween. I, for one, cannot wait to see these ghouls glow. With mavradio.fm, I'm Dakota Bachman.
According to the Nebraska Public Media, the zoo took a $29 million hit between March through August of 2020. The zoo officials say they're coming back strong. Dakota Bachman is outside of the Henry Dorley Zoo right now and says it's lit up and ready for visitors. Dakota, how are you doing out there?
I'm all right. How are you guys doing?
Great. We're just getting close to finishing up Haunted Heartland 2021. Just a successful special here at Mav Radio. Now, let me start this off by asking, what is Ghouls and Glow?
So Ghouls and Glow is a Halloween event that the zoo puts on through the whole month of October. They have about 20 to 25 different nights where they have people come and just look at a nice light show. They've got 400 silk and wire statues all throughout the Children's Bay here.
Yeah, and you mentioned a light show and trick-or-treating. What additional activities are there?
I do know that they have a magician that I was able to get a look at earlier, and they also have Omaha street performers as well. So it's kind of a nice party atmosphere down here at the zoo.
Let me ask you this. How many guests do you expect to attend the Ghouls and Glow at Henry Dorley Zoo?
I know tonight I did chat with Elizabeth, who's assistant marketing events manager here. She said they had about 500 guests tonight, but over the whole month of October, they expect around 30 to 40,000. It just kind of varies.
Okay, and then it sounds like there's a lot of work being done just to set up the event, like wiring up the statue with lights.
I do know they spend the entire month of September and October as far as making these silk statues that are actually, they're quite beautiful if you ever get a chance to come out and look at them. There's about 400 of them, and then they are also planning this year-round, so as soon as this is torn down, October 31st and November 1st, they're going to start planning it for next year, so this is a big hitter for the zoo.
Dakota, thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your Halloween, and have a great rest of your night. Stay safe out there.
All right, I will. Thanks, guys.
Anna, that sounds like something fun to do.
Yeah, it definitely does. A little bit of a switch up between you going to the pumpkin patch and whatnot. Might as well stop over at the zoo. It's usually a summer affair, but might as well use it in the fall too. It's a beautiful zoo, one of the best in the world. So I'm glad they're celebrating Halloween as well.
Yeah, and just every year it seems like they just add more to it. They upgrade the exhibits. I remember just my last visit, they were working on the gorilla and monkey area, so I can't wait to see what's going to go on there as they completed the Asian Highlands and the African area.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to happen than this light show. I just not seen it before. I got to go catch one sometime.
Definitely me too, and us in America here celebrate Halloween so well, but in the Mexican culture, the night of October 31st is actually the beginning of the Day of the Dead. It's a celebration of life and death, and it begins at midnight on November 1st and runs until November 2nd. Families pay homage to their loved ones by preparing an altar of remembrance called an ofrenda. It's a spectacular decoration of colorful sugar skulls, toys, and favorite food, in a long line of photos of dead relatives that they're honoring on this day. And reporter Jasmine Pineda says the holiday is an expression of love and remembrance.
To many Mexicans, the night of October 31st is the beginning of the celebration of Dia de los Muertos. The celebration begins at midnight on November 1st until midnight on November 2nd, where families have prepared an altar of remembrance called ofrendas decorated with colorful sugar skulls, toys, and favorite food of confection, all an expression of love for those who have passed.
The gathering of the family was number one, and number two, it was just remembering the people that we care had passed away in our generations.
Gabriel Escalara, a former student at UNO, shared his experience with celebrating this event in his home country.
When I celebrated in Mexico, it was always related to being close and being an important day for the family, especially for grandparents, father, mother.
This tradition dates back to Mexico's oldest civilization, including the meaning behind the iconic flower of the dead, a beautiful bright orange marigold. But with many families fleeing to the U.S., these traditions have dwindled from generation to generation.
Obviously, with the big influence of Catholicism for this kind of celebrations in Mexico, it is, again, relates to the country a lot in a way that does not relate in other places.
But at the University of Nebraska-Omaha, there are students and staff who are determined to keep these traditions alive and continue to connect with their roots. Located in the Student Center, the Multicultural Affairs Office sets up an altar during the week of Dia de los Muertos for all students to see. Elizabeth Blanco Rodriguez has been part of organizing and setting up the altar on campus grounds.
There's just been more, and again, with this is with the students that I work with, it's just more of with it being, especially those that have been brought to the U.S. as children, they've been wanting to make sure that they're keeping their identity.
Having this piece of Mexican culture on campus has become a symbol of home to other Hispanic students that can proudly share or help contribute to.
Making sure that you're keeping these traditions, or even creating new traditions or adapting new traditions for themselves.
"20-year-old Alice is a student whose parents immigrated from Guatemala. Though she doesn't celebrate Dia de los Muertos like her Mexican friends, The tradition inspired her to contribute and help set up the ofrenda in 2019.
So at the beginning, I started participating in it because I saw they needed help. But after talking to them and seeing how it was working, it just made me think a lot about my best friend when he passed away from cancer he passed away from cancer when we were in 4th grade. So it just gave me a lot to think about and just nice memories and everything.
Keeping this tradition alive will also help those who don't celebrate the holiday to understand that this is a time to celebrate and not fear the spirits of loved ones that visit our earth on these 2 special days. And that favorite food of confection isn't just for the living. For Mav Radio FM, I'm Jasmine Pineda.
Hey, and the U.S. has also capitalized on the holiday's popularity, filtering more than $8 billion from the Day of the Dead. It goes to the economy every year just from that holiday. And we have one brave soul, Jasmine, out there at an actual cemetery. How are you, Jasmine?
Hello. I am alive and well.
Hey, you're doing better than a lot of the folks there.
Right, correct.
All right, so let's talk about a little bit more about the Day of the Dead. Do you celebrate that?
Fortunately, no. This was a learning experience for me, as much as also a way that I wanted to connect back to my roots. I only remember being able to celebrate Day of the Dead only once. Well, after I immigrated to the U.S., like Liz said in the interview, a lot of students, including myself, have been wanting to keep these traditions alive and, connecting back to our roots.
And now in the United States, why do you think it's gained so much popularity here?
I would say it would have to be after the release of Coco in 2017. Being a Disney movie, obviously it gained a lot of attention, as well as for its accurate representation of the holiday and just the beautiful imagery.
And Jasmine, I guess one last thing. What's the situation over at the cemetery? How does it look? How does it feel?
We're getting a little creepy vibes because of the very low lighting around the streets, but we're safe. No ghosts yet.
All right.
I don't know how it's looking in the studio with the ghosts.
Do you guys have like a Ouija board out there? What are you doing?
Oh, no. No. You've seen slasher films. You know how that goes.
All right. Well, stay away from the Ouija board. Stay safe out there in the cemetery. Thank you so much for your story and sharing a little bit more about it with us today.
Thank you.
Joey, I'm just glad I am not over there and I'm in the studio with lots of light and lots of people that are alive.
Yeah, I'm around a few other people in the studio. We got Austin next to me. Yeah, I want to give Austin Ulmer a shout out for producing On Heartland 2021 as we're closing in. But yeah, I'm just glad I'm not at a cemetery at night. Just a creepy environment, especially this time of the year.
Not a fan. And it's kind of cold out there, so shout out to those reporters hanging on the cemetery for this Haunted Heartland edition. We've got 2 more stories in store for you all, so stay tuned. We'll be right back here on MavRadio.fm.
Award-winning programming never sounded so scary. Haunted Heartland on MavRadio.fm. Listen if you dare. We'll leave the lights off for you.
You're listening to the Haunted Heartland on MavRadio.fm. Don't switch the station. Do not switch the station.
Yeah, do not dare switch the station as we are finishing up our 9th annual Haunted Heartland here at MavRadio.fm for 2021. Now let's go back to some scary horror movies we all love to watch. Isn't that right, Anna?
Oh yes, about to pop some on after this one.
Yeah, does horror cinema, a popcorn pastime of theaters, is a significant success for filmmakers, both financially and critically. The first purported horror film was produced in 1896 and released in the U.S. as The Haunted Castle. I did not know there was a movie in 1896. Anyway, today Hollywood finds no shortage of stories to take to the big screen. Reporter John Stanton says the genre is typically inexpensive to make while reaping the benefit of high sales.
Scary movies. They're a staple of Halloween and media at large. It feels like it should be obvious why the horror genre is so popular and profitable. Mark Hager, a UNO professor of the arts, seems to agree.
by definition, scary films scare us, or should, and then that people will come away and go like, oh, that was really good, I was really scared.
They scare us, as they should. However, what may seem simple has more moving parts than one would think. After all, it would not be a coincidence that the top 5 horror films made over $400 million in 2019. That may not seem like much, but when the budget of these films is taken into account, it makes a world of difference.
For independent producers, is that it's a relatively inexpensive way to have a movie that can break through and reach major audiences.
For example, Blumhouse Studios, the company behind movies like Insidious, Get Out, and the Purge franchise, use surprisingly low budgets of typically less than $10 million, and manage to make a profit of upwards of $90 million in box office earnings alone.
So if you've got a dark set and dark shadowy spaces, that's always been a formula for creating dramatic visual effects that don't cost a lot of money.
So, horror movies are a typical recipe for independent filmmakers eager to show what they can do on a budget without as much restriction as television while keeping the price tag of one.
Which kind of culminated in the 80s in the whole combination of sex and violence with the slasher film.
The advent of streaming services might see the end of these box office returns, but the appeal of horror in the theater may hold off the extinction with its own strategies.
So it's kind of, you would think somehow watching a film alone would be scarier, but in fact it's easier to kind of distance yourself from the film at that point. When you're in an audience and everybody around you is scared, it becomes a genuinely sort of scary situation to be in at that point.
That sentiment seems to hold true, as these moviegoers don a familiar mask to the horror genre.
I'm seeing the new Halloween.
Halloween Kills, a sequel to the 2018 reboot of the 1978 film of the same name, starring the iconic Jamie Lee Curtis. Already, the slasher flick has made over $50 million on a budget of a low $10 million.
I'm seeing Candyman. I really like Jordan Peele.
Another reboot, though this time from producer Jordan Peele and director Nia DaCosta. The original was considered a failure at the box office, but later became a cult classic that was well loved by its fan base, in part thanks to a performance by Tony Todd, who will be returning for this new film. With its weekend release past, it's somewhat difficult to compare the earnings of the latest films, making over 3 times its budget with $77 million should not be forgotten.
Lamb, I hear it's really scary.
Lamb is a directorial debut for Icelandic filmmaker Vladimir Johansson, in this story about a childless couple who find a strange creature in their barn who they decide to raise as their own. However, dark forces conspire to take back what belongs to it in this chilling European horror story. While Lamb has only made $1 million in its opening weekend, it should be remembered that not only had this film been released over a year ago, while it was being circulated in Europe, but that even with its relatively meager gains, its critical reception, and the fact that it did extremely well for an Icelandic film released in the United States, Lamb is certain to hold a morbid place in most fans' hearts. From old to new and established to revived, this Halloween will have plenty of popcorn fodder for the whole gang. I'm John Stanton with MavRadio.fm.
Halloween Kills is a fan favorite this year, grossing more than $50 million in its opening weekend. John is outside of the IMAX theater at the Henry Doorly Zoo right now. John, how are you doing out there?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, Joey. There's a lot of people going around here. Unfortunately, not very many people going into the IMAX theater here at the Henry Doorly Zoo, as it is closed at the current moment.
Yeah.
Whether that's due to a time restriction or to something seasonal, I don't know.
Yeah, I would figure, because I mentioned it with Anna earlier, as the zoo usually closes around 5:30 or 6, but they got the light festival going on with ghouls and glows, but I would think they'd just go in the IMAX theater for some animal film or something. But you mentioned foreign films, but how well do the American horror films tend to do in the foreign markets?
Well, American horror films tend to do fairly decent in a foreign market, contrary to the vice versa of foreign films in an American market. But you see a lot of American films tend to be very, very popular in terms of foreign cinema, even overtaking some foreign films in foreign cinema. For example, China is a very, very big contributor to the movie market as it is.
Yeah, then we're able to see some of these films just through our apps, through the tablets and phones we have today. Do you think the market is opening up for foreign films thanks to the streaming services?
I definitely think it is, because we have gotten so many amazing foreign films. Like, for example, Parasite. Someone would consider that a horror film. I do. I also consider it a dark comedy. Won an award in 2020 and ended up being a very popular film in America. There were even talk of making an American remake of it, which I think is a poor decision, but that's besides the point. Train to Busan is another Korean film which did very, very good in an American market and its own market, along with things like The Grudge, which was originally a Japanese horror film. And you see this pattern of foreign films being very popular in the States, whether it's in their original format, as we've seen with like Parasite and Squid Game and so on, and in an altered format like with The Grudge and soon Train to Busan.
Yeah, and some of these horror films are just successful, giving credit to all the special effects, just creating that creepy environment, that suspense. Special effects today are better than ever. What effect has this had on how modern horror movies and their returns? Would you say they make more money now than before, inflation aside?
I would definitely say that they make way more money now than they have in the past. And that is simply because horror films are able to reach a wider audience because we have more or less refined the craft of making creepy things. And you see this a lot in indie films and in very low-budget films like Insidious, The Purge, Sinister, and so on, where they're very, very cheap. They don't have a lot of big-name actors, but they get butts in the seats. They make a lot of money. The Purge, by the way, is basically a tentpole franchise where they can make any sort of plot, any sort of variation on it, and it will make money for that studio that will allow them to make more movies. I mean, it's just simple mathematics. If Insidious is made on a $10 million budget and it makes a profit of $90 million, well, guess what? They can make 9 more Insidious movies, which each of those makes some margin of $90 million. And it's just this money-making machine that can pump out product and rake in cash.
And it just sounds like there's just a lot of hard work going into these films and just the profits just paying off, especially for scary movies around this time of the year. Well, John, thank you for giving some insight on horror films. You take care.
Yep, you too.
I gotta watch some of these films he talked about. I mentioned this before, and I'm not really a horror film guy because it just gets into my head and I just wake up creeped out from things. And then when I go around a big old house, an 1899 house, I just gotta make sure just nothing is lurking in the hallways.
I can't help. I was gonna say that I would never watch a horror film at Joey's house, ever.
What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that?
Too scary. Well, one movie he didn't mention was Paranormal Activity, and that one, I remember in middle school when that came out, that would give me the heebie-jeebies. It was a very realistic one. I had never seen one such like that, where all the footage was kind of from security cameras around the house, and then the families going through all this paranormal experience and whatnot. Those were creepy. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I kind of remember just seeing the trailers and just looking at scenes, just all of them just shooting from the security cameras in home or outside of home. It's just seeing that, just seeing the time frame, just they go forward pretty quick, and just seeing all of that happening, like the moving sheets or just dragging people around or even possessing people.
All the dishes coming off the table, that move, creepy every time.
Doesn't happen at my house,
It
I'll tell you
doesn't-
that.
Yeah, I hope not. Better not. And if it does, catch it on camera, Joey, because you can be a multimillionaire. Well, paranormal experiences aren't easy to talk about in everyday life, so nevertheless, according to a BBC study, 1 in 5 Americans claim to have seen a ghost, Joey. 75% say that they believe in these uncanny experiences, and reporter Casey Wells finds that visiting with loved ones who passed away offers a sense of peace for those who need it most.
It's 3:33 a.m., and you wake up to a voice in your ear. It sounded so real. Was it just a dream? As you start to fall back to sleep, and you're in a twilight state, you feel someone sit on the foot of your bed. You jump up, and no one's there. Could it be a ghost? According to Paranormal Research and Investigation Society of Manitoba, also known as PRISM, paranormal activity is all around us all the time. Spiritual medium Victoria Santo says the paranormal is anything that's unexplained in a way we understand in the physical world. Victoria worked with a psychic detective when she was 30 years old to train on solved cases.
The teacher encouraged us to just psychically pick up clues. So it's not about communicating with the other side. I was just trying to get some clues as to, what's going on, and couldn't get anything. So almost like out of frustration, I just asked this deceased woman, like, what happened? And I started getting information that came out to be very important.
After that moment, Victoria started her journey helping people grieve and find closure. She says many people carry guilt from trauma or an unexpected passing. There is one way to think positive of some paranormal activity. Some of the unexpected signs are just different types of afterlife communication.
The lights flickering, TV on and off, or whatever it is, it's because they desperately trying to let their loved ones know that they are around, and probably getting frustrated because the loved ones are just like not seeing these.
Believe it or not, we all have the ability to connect with spirits from the other side. There is a popular way that many people don't expect to be a way of communication. Victoria explains, you can be doing a task such as driving or doing the dishes, and you randomly think of a past loved one. It is you picking up on their presence.
Mostly they communicate through your thoughts and feelings. It's gonna be hard for you to differentiate, and same for me. So I don't hear them like someone's talking in my head, or I'm not hearing voices. 95% of the time is through my own thoughts.
Victoria says, while afterlife communication is extremely normal if your soul is open to it, some struggle with accepting that it's not something to fear. There are ways to go about casually keeping your loved ones involved in your everyday life. There is no death, they are just not visible in the physical world. Nicole McDermott is the owner of the Conjure Shop in Omaha and is a conjure worker and spiritual consultant. Nicole insists that communicating with spirits can be a peaceful experience and not necessarily frightening.
A lot of times people have the misconception that because they're, spirit now, or whatever form that they're in, or wherever they're at, we're in the physical, we have so much control and we have so much power over the situation. Just be patient and be respectful, and something as simple as talking to them, that can be quite beneficial.
She says people can also honor spirits with creating an altar at home with pictures of them and some of their favorite things from the physical life, such as beer, roses, or a stuffed animal. You can also clean their graves, take them things that they like, but don't do it just on birthdays or Memorial Day. Go once a week or so and sit and have a conversation with them.
It's acknowledgement on a daily basis. Just because somebody passes away in the physical form doesn't mean that they're not, they don't want to be acknowledged and want to be there, and they want to still be a part of your life, and that is very, very possible.
While the unknown is inherently fearful, the art of knowing can be its antidote. Victoria and Nicole both take part in careers to spiritually guide others and educate them to see the positives of the paranormal. They agree, folks shouldn't be afraid of those who have passed before us. Rather, they should be careful of those still living. From MavRadio.fm, I'm Casey Wells.
Psychologists studying religion find that many people tend to believe in the paranormal because the human condition is designed to crave answers. In fact, humans tend to act adversely to chaos. Casey, where are you at?
Hi, I'm outside the conjure shop right now.
Oh, that's gotta be a fun place to be. What's it look like over there?
Yeah, well, it's actually, it's dark and cold. I'm actually outside right now, but inside the store it's super cool. They have tons of different crystals and sage and necklaces with crystals in them and different herbs and candles.
So those are all used to kind of ward off those bad spirits. Casey, have you ever personally experienced anything paranormal?
Oh, yeah, I have actually. Growing up, there's some, you think you see, or I actually believe that I saw certain, past family members or heard voices while sleeping or, it's just little things like that. So I've had to, I went to the conjure shop and bought, sage. They say sage is to take negativity out of the atmosphere and warn off the bad energy, so.
Yeah, definitely pick up that sage, pick up those crystals, because we don't want any of that negative energy in our lives, Casey. Any final thoughts or comments you'd like to make regarding the church and or the family that you spoke with?
No, I don't think so. The psychic medium, I guess, she's super cool because they say Victoria Santos, she says that she doesn't actually hear voices that are passed on to the other side. She just gets it psychically in her thoughts. But I have talked to other psychic mediums in the past who actually can't see or hear other past spirits. So I guess a lot of psychic mediums who have their own way of communicating, which I think is super cool,
Hey, are you going to pick up anything in that conjure shop now?
I don't have the money to, but I wish I could.
Hey, if you got to pick one thing, what would you pick up?
Actually, I love rose quartz. I wear a rose quartz bracelet on my wrist. They always say it helps with self-love and happiness. And so I would probably, keep that, in my car or next to my bed or so.
Yep, I've got some rose quartz in my room too, Casey. It's a way to do it. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us on Haunted Heartland 2021. We're about to wrap up things. Thank you so much for joining us, Casey.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
See, Joey, Casey has rose quartz too, and she wants to pick up some more, so I think you should consider.
Maybe I should consider, because I experienced some paranormal activity on vacation. I remember going on a road trip to Arizona, just staying in the middle of nowhere in a cabin. I mentioned it earlier, there was random knocks on the door. My family would just answer it. There's no one there. Then one of the nights, my sister woke up, or sleepwalked outside of the cabin. My mom was asking her, "What are you doing?" She said, "I got to go outside." And she got her inside. And then the other day, my other sister had like a phone charger cord wrapped around her neck.
Oh no!
Kind of like in a chokehold, and she got that situated. And then the final night before, I never sleepwalked before, and I just randomly got up and nearly got out of the house. I was trying to open the door, and my mom pushed me back to bed. But yeah, this cabin was located near a Native American burial ground, and the owner would allow guests to go visit there. He would take them there on a tour and just let them grab artifacts from there. So it's like you're asking for the consequence. Right. So don't go.
I don't like that.
Yeah, don't go to burial grounds and pick up things that are not yours. Leave them where they're at.
Well, okay. Well, I have another paranormal experience that I'll share then. So my track team was at a hotel in California. And the first night, so we shared a room with 3 girls, and we had 2 in one bed and then 1 in the other. So we were still close. Like, there wasn't, we didn't feel scared or anything. It was just a normal night in a hotel. We'd done it all season. And all of a sudden, I woke up and saw something at the end of my bed. And I got up and I screamed and was like, "What is that?" I freaked out. And then I woke up Lexi and Cassie that were next to me, and I was like, "What do you did you guys see that?" And they're like, "What? Go back to bed. What are you talking about?" So go back to bed, whatever. And then I wake up again and I hear children running across the hotel room. And I'm like, okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's kind of...
Turn on the lights, wake them up again. They're like, stop. What are you doing? And so they didn't really believe me. And then the next night, Lexi, the most skeptical one of all, she was like, "Anna, stop tickling my feet in the middle of the night." And I wasn't awake or anything. I was dead asleep. And I didn't wake up. And she was like, someone was tickling my feet throughout the night. And I was like, that wasn't me. And so they finally believed me, and we look up the hotel the next night, and we're like, okay, this place has to be haunted. We look it up. It's on a list of haunted attractions to see in California. So we go to our coach. We're like, why did you book this hotel? Like, are we on a budget? What's going on? So yeah, we stayed at a haunted hotel in California. We had some creepy things, the door knocking as well. And then apparently our other teammates heard about us, like freaking out about it, and they started messing with us as well. So it just kept going and kept escalating from there. They're knocking, running around in our door. So who knows about the lost stuff that happened, but I swear the first couple nights were pretty spooky, Joey.
My question is, did your coach intended you guys to stay there? It's in that specific room, because it's typical for haunted hotels to have that kind of paranormal events.
Right, no, he said no, he had no clue, and I think he kind of felt bad because we barely slept, and we're like, I don't know, I can't run this meet because I'm freaked out at this hotel.
Yeah, bad sleep affects performance.
It's true. It wasn't my best meet, Joey. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yep. Well, that pretty much wraps up our 9th annual Haunted Heartland for 2021. This was just a fantastic lineup of different stories. We heard from 14 different student reporters from Professor Jodine Brownlee's class. Just a great job. I was pretty amazed with all the different stuff I've learned, such as the CPAX tunnels, just connecting from building to building, where there was a rumor of a lizard man, and then you got some fear of clowns, and then haunted houses, and then some special events like ghouls and glows out at Henry Doorly Zoo, and some spooky films to watch.
If you didn't know what to do on Halloween, well, now you know, because you can re-listen to all of this on Halloween night, and you can check out all of these different attractions. Maybe sneak down in the CPAX tunnels. I honestly think that Scary Lizard just might be Mark Dale, though.
I was gonna say that might be Mark Dale down there. Yeah, I want to quickly get one more shout out to our special hero, new production director, Austin Ulmer, for producing his first ever Haunted Heartland. Just a great job from him stepping up. And then Jodine Brownlee for getting these students to share all these fantastic stories. But going through these 2.5 hours is just special. I remember producing my first time on these special last year with Corey and Chance, and then getting the feel for these Mav Radio annual shows they do in the fall and the spring semester. And I was happy to do Earth Day and then doing Haunted Heartland with you folks on a spooky, spectacular special night. And give a shout out to their student reporters dealing with the cold, waiting to call into the studio while we share our experiences and share other student reporter stories.
Definitely. It's been a special night, and I'm very impressed with all the student reporting that we had, everything that's been put into fruition here, all the work that's been done throughout the semester. Shout out Joey, Jodine, Austin, everyone that was a part of this event. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for hearing these stories, and I hope you got a spook out of our Haunted Heartland 2021.
Yeah, we hope you did indeed. And if you want to watch this again, or just go online, mavradio.fm, or just go on to the podcast and take a look at that. There's also the previous Haunted Heartland specials from the previous years, 2020, 2019, from the very beginning. This was amazing as Halloween approaches. Thank you again.
This has been a live broadcast production with the UNO School of Communication and MAV Radio. Thanks for listening, and remember, it's not real unless you believe it.